So, welcome back to Tech Me Out, everyone. Today, we're going to explore AI in healthcare, what it really is, and how it impacts both professional and personal life. My guest today is Susan, and she is a nurse, but I don't want to introduce her. I'd like her to introduce herself. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, Susan.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Kenny. So I'm Susan, and I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for about 11 years now. I recently graduated with my master's in nursing to become a midwife. So now I'm in the category of advanced providers, and I know that midwifery is something that is not known across the spectrum, but midwives are a big deal in healthcare and worldwide and locally. I feel like it's a big honor to be part of the profession. Other than that, I am a mom, and you have little kids, 2 little kids. They keep us all busy.
They do.
Hmm.
Congratulations on you getting your master's in nursing and
Yeah.
going into midwifery. So with my son, I went to the, hospital, went through that whole process.
Uh-huh.
And then when I was giving birth,
Hmm.
everything just kind of did not go as planned, right? As it
Hmm.
normally
Yeah.
does.
Hmm. Hmm.
But that really shocked me. And so with my daughter, it was also during the pandemic, I made the choice that we would have her at a midwife birthing facility. We were moving to Texas and we were able to find a very great location. It was just a so much different experience. And it's almost like sorcery what you guys do because I never felt like instruments were on me. It was just kind of like a connection. And it
Mm-hmm.
was an amazing experience. I
Hmm.
highly recommend it. But
Yeah,
it's
that's right.
amazing.
Amazing. Those are the stories we are trying to like get out there for through your experience and through personal experience, through just professional experience. It's one profession that is really underlooked, and it once if it gets out there and supported, I feel like it could make a big dent in these like fatal statistics that we see facing
Mhm.
women dying in such an advanced economy. It shouldn't be
Right.
happening. um yeah, once midwifery is embraced, midwives believe in your body. Like we believe that
Mhm.
women are meant to do what they're supposed to do. And
Yes.
once you let the woman experience their power and their energy, they get through it.
Mhm.
And because it's been done by millions of women around the world for centuries
Right.
before even modern medicines. And that's the knowledge that a lot of women don't and families don't know, because I feel like if families are aware of what's happening or what has happened in the past, then they will advocate for it. So I'm grateful for putting in that plug.
So, can we talk about, like, technology,
Yes.
how different it is since you're now have your
Mm.
master's in nursing, how it's changed communication with patients from your perspective?
I actually did like at first was a nurse, like, we have minimal, like we still interact with patients, but like anytime the question that, the patient comes with a question, sometimes if you cannot answer it, you're always deferring it to the midwife or the doctor because my license doesn't take me up to this point. Now through school, there are 2.5 years just being in training, and the school itself is now like incorporating how technology is, we have to use it. We have to use it smart, in a smart way. Towards the end, I had a class which was health informatics, and we technically had to use AI to help
Mm,
us. Like, how would you use AI, for example, to like triage patients? And of course, AI
mhm.
has its own downside. And so, like, yeah, we can use AI to help us like do things faster, but it cannot eliminate the human factor. There are things which are generic, which because at one point that one of the projects that I was working on was you put in this information, this data, and you as a person use your knowledge to like come up with an algorithm of triaging patients, and then use the same data and to put it into this AI engine that is approved by the school. And the
Wow.
information it was completely different. At the
Mm,
beginning, it kind of like disguises as okay, but if you keep looking deeper, and it looks
mhm.
beautiful from the AI perspective, it's so beautiful. The lines are all clean. And mine was like, the lines are not necessarily clean because I don't know how to use the drawings on my computer, but the information was completely different towards the end. And
Mm.
so then the takeaway was, yes, you can use AI to help you come up with an outline, for example, but then you have to truly read through or even like edit what you're putting out before the patients, or before you start using it on patients, because there's a lot of disorganization, and there's basically the whole idea was use AI but use it wisely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. So I've read so many like different articles about the triage process and how
Mm,
different companies are coming up with like platforms and things that kind of make that workflow faster. What does that actually look like? Like if I was a patient,
mhm.
what would you type into something? Is it like a tablet? Like how are you using AI to triage? That's just so interesting.
So one of the things, well, so in this particular project, it wasn't like an algorithm. Like you come into OB, or obstetric AD, emergency department, and so you are in labor, or you are potentially in labor, or you just have this stomach ache, and so you have three patients who are presenting. One is bleeding. One
Mm,
is saying I'm contracting every 5 minutes, and one is saying I have this right upper quadrant pain. So different kinds of pains are triaged, differently at the different trimesters. And so the algorithm will guide you, which the algorithm could have been generated by AI, because AI had this data. The three patients would present with pain, but you'll have to use the algorithm to see to determine who you're going to see first over the other. And so that algorithm is either made by AI, or you use AI to help you come up with that, because again, AI gathers all this information. Or as a human being now, your human wisdom is you use AI to guide you based on your patient population. And so just looking at what is needed, who is needed to be seen. And I think that's something that, of course,
mm,
as a patient, as a client, you don't know. You're like, I'm sitting in this triage room and nobody is coming to see me, or
yeah.
nobody has talked to me yet. Ahead of you, maybe somebody came bleeding and, with blood clots. And you came in saying that, yeah, I have this right upper quadrant pain. They are both serious, but who is more likely to maybe lose their life in the process
Mm.
of being delayed? So that's how we use the algorithms to kind of like, who do we see first, emergently, urgently, and in that way we can use AI or technology to help us answer those questions quickly.
Okay. Um, so are there areas where AI could make the biggest difference, you think, in healthcare?
Yeah, I actually so far it has, especially during my training and what we call clinicals. I saw, for example, when you go meet a patient and you're supposed to like get all this history. Some places, some hospitals, you have like somebody else who's like typing all these answers from the patients. And then but then some other places, some clinics are very busy, that you are moving. You only have 20 minutes to see this patient, and the patient doesn't know that you have 20 minutes, but you really have to tell them up front, I have 20 minutes to see you, and we have to address all these things. So as you're conducting your patient interview, there is this AI that we are using. There's one called NABLA. I think different facilities use different ones, and they have been approved. So they help you as you ask these questions. It's taking the patient answers, even when you're using a translator phone. If it's like
Wow.
there's language barrier. So then it takes all this information from the patient, because technically you as a provider, you should be writing all these answers down. But then when you're writing answers down, then you're losing eye contact with your patient. And then you have
Mhm.
to keep interrupting your patient. Oh, I'm sorry, what did you just say? So then you can still take some notes, because you're still at the end of the day, when you're looking at what the AI has gathered, you will kind of like remember, okay, the patient said this, because some of the things are exaggerated depending on
Mm.
how it was captured. And so you as a provider have to go in and say, okay, that's a part of the history. That's not what the patient said, or maybe the patient meant this. So in some ways, it's helping gather this information, and then you as a provider kind of go back and edit or take out what is important, because it takes everything that, like my conversation with you, it's taking everything, writing everything
Oh,
down,
wow.
and then helps you come up with a plan of care. If it gives you a plan of care, it gives you the interventions, what it recommends for intervening us in a specific situation. And so it can be a life changer in terms
Yeah.
of like helping maybe improve patient interaction, because that's what patients want to be heard, heard by the providers. But most times providers don't have time to be like, take time, listening, because in your head, you're like, you have 20 minutes to see this
Yeah.
patient and the other one is waiting. Um, yeah. So in the moment, I think it's being used for the better. It still needs human factor in there to edit and take out what is important, what is not important.
So, how do you make that decision? So, let's just say you've spoken to a patient, you're doing the interview. How do you make a
Mhm.
decision on what the AI recommendations you're going to take and actually tell that patient to do, or your own judgment? Like, have you ever decided, like, I'm just not going to do any of this, or how do
Yeah.
you make that determination?
Yes. Yeah. Critical thinking at the end of the day is still like, you cannot throw it out, because when you have a AI is giving you generic information, but you also have to look at your patient. Is the patient has low resources to say this patient needs follow up next week, for example, and then in your mind, the patient says, I have difficulties getting transportation. He's now gonna give you suggestions on how this patient needs to get to their office appointment next week. So then you as a provider, you choose to say, okay, I'll have a telehealth visit. I'll have the nurse call you to check in and see how you're doing. So, and still AI, like you can use AI, but then also like use it according to what is possible and what is not possible. And a good thing, if you have been a provider in the field for a long time, then you know that, yeah, it can give you this because it's basing the intervention it is recommending are based on World Wide Web, like what is done in the UK, but not necessarily done in Denver or done in
Right.
this specific population of low income. But also, yeah, so you can still use it and say, okay, I'm in a low income area. This is what is available. How, help me determine which of these could be important or useful to this patient. And then you can use it that way. But also you
Yeah.
can talk to the patient and be like, what is possible for you?
Perfect. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
perfect example. I think that
Yeah.
the way that you just framed that,
Mhm.
explaining it in real scenarios, real world scenarios,
Mm. Mhm.
puts a pause on this idea that we're not going to see our doctors anymore, that we're not going to interact with any staff anymore, that it's going to be like
Mm.
a robot communicating with us. I just don't see that as a viable platform and as a viable product that well-to-do hospitals and meaningful facilities are going to take on. Like
Mm.
you say, something like transportation. They're just not. It's never going to produce like something like that from that
No.
factor. Never will
Right. Right.
with
Right.
that data set. So, I mean, I think that's just spot on.
Yeah.
So, let's move outside of work. How do
Yeah.
you use AI personally, like apps, chatbots, or virtual assistants?
I actually don't use a ton of AI. I think I've been on that other bandwagon of like, oh my gosh, it is invasive. I don't want to. Although one time I was desperate and I wanted this like professional picture taken, and I tried to like use this app that was going to help me get, because it was required sooner than I had anticipated. And so
Mhm.
the app required me to put in my personal pictures and then it will come up with a professional picture. And it truly did. I looked at the picture itself, the final product, and I felt violated. I was like, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, somebody can actually come up with this, with me putting my pictures out there. Somebody can come up with this. It's close to what I look like, but I don't look like that necessarily. In that particular picture, I felt I had a heavy chest. Like there was a lot of a kind of stereotype in the picture. And I just, of course, I did not, use it and end up deleting the stuff, my information out of the app. But I just felt icky after doing it. I felt it
Wow.
was unreal. And so also like, I cannot use it to, interact with people. Say I use it to chat with my friend and I use it to reply. I feel like it's too auto generated for me. There's no feelings in the statement. And when a friend or a colleague is using that same, you can feel it. And once I sense the line that is so detached, I don't even reply. And so personal basis, I don't use AI. I just
Yeah, I mean,
dislike it.
I definitely hear you. The
Mm.
invasion of privacy idea. I've not used those tools before, but advertisements look really good, like for LinkedIn or
Hmm.
something like that.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
give you one picture and then we'll take it and put it in
Right.
5 different settings. I'm like this close to doing it, and instead I
Right. No.
reached out to a friend of mine who's a
Uh,
photographer because I just thought
uh,
the same thing as you, but I
yeah.
mean, you said it just the stereotypes is also
Yeah.
very, very profound that they came up with it added
Yes. Yeah.
things beyond the
Right.
picture, and you're like,
Yeah.
"You asked me for the picture, I gave you the picture, and now you're adding all these other filling in these
Absolutely.
gaps in a way
Yeah.
that didn't make sense." Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
that's very, very interesting perspective. So, a lot of people that have been on the podcast or that I've talked to don't
Uh-huh.
use AI. I think there's just a lot of what they call AI slop. There's a lot of opportunity to just get a bad result, and it's so
Yeah.
easy to get a bad result. So, yeah, that's I think that's where we are right now until they kinda clean things up.
Until yes, on surface it really looks okay, but I then it just feel like when I see somebody actually like using the AI generated profile picture or something, and I'm like, well, first of all, look at this, like it's so artificially like presented to you, and then in my head I'm like, do you look at that and say, okay, this is what I want, this is what I look
Mm.
like, which kind of I think it's like almost like a dominoes waiting to fall because
Mm.
like there's this this beauty standard of like, oh, flawless skin. But then when you look at yourself in the mirror, my skin is not necessarily flawless. Then what's going to happen? When I meet people who are, and then I know in the past people have like commented about that and they're like, oh, I wouldn't like airbrush my pictures to this point. But then you have AI that is actually doing it for you and you say, oh, it's pretty, or people are giving you compliments and like, oh, that's a pretty picture. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
what are you taking away from those compliments? Like,
I think we realize, like, in social media, at least
yeah.
for teens and the younger
Mhm.
generations, how
Mhm.
it can adversely impact, like, their
Yeah.
self-image
Yeah.
and also but we're what you just said, it sounds like
Mhm.
as adults, we've forgotten how we're also being kinda brought up in it still. Like, we
Yes.
think, "Oh, I'm an
Yes.
adult, I know exactly I'm gonna just delete the picture," and you know what I
Right.
mean? But if I'm getting this positive reinforcement from people or it actually
Mm.
looks visibly beautiful to me,
Mhm.
that there is like it's almost like you're still getting that adverse social media impact, that social image
Yes.
impact for adults.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
that's I hadn't even never even thought about that.
Yeah.
'Cause you do want something to edit, but
Yeah.
what it seems like AI hasn't or the benchmarks haven't been put in, like, it can't be perfect,
Yes.
because nothing is perfect. And I
Nothing
think
is
that's
perfect.
yeah,
That's right.
that's very, very important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so one more question.
Yeah.
For someone who's curious
Uh-huh.
but nervous about AI in healthcare, what should they know?
What they should know is actually providers and this healthcare systems, at least what the school that I've gone through, which is University of Colorado, the Anschutz Medical Campus, and the big, hospital that I work for, I feel like they have a ton of experts who are either trying to, we are all required to take these classes, which are helping us find a way of using evidence-based practice. Because we know that our clients or slash patients, they have access to this information, but also this information is compromised. So
Mm.
you as a provider, the patient is looking up to you and thinking, okay, you're giving me the right information and where are you getting it from? So the providers are equipped with means and ways of understanding this is not okay, this is okay. I should educate my patients. And we are all open to like educating our patients and telling them that this is where you should go. This is how you should determine what is impactful to your health using the same tools that are out there, which is again technology, because we are not going to run away from it. We're just being equipped to use it in ways of protecting our patients, patients' information, which is HIPAA. It's not going away because even when they tell you to put your information in this app that is going to say generate your plan for say managing your high cholesterol, you have to do it wisely as a patient. And I know there are also apps which are like helping you track your pregnancy, for example.
Right.
You're already putting in enough information for them to have about you. So then you go out of your clinical mindset and tell patients, okay, you don't have to put in all that information. It's requiring you to. You put in basic information or use this particular app that the hospital is giving you because the hospital has already put in resources to protect their clientele. Same as the schools, they are
Right.
putting in, processes to protect, as opposed to like finding an app online and then putting in
Right.
your information and hoping that, what they're giving you is correct or good. So I feel like both organizations, the trainings, they are intentionally, training providers to use AI and, technology wisely, but also not disregarding your critical thinking as a provider. We are still having continuous education as providers. You still have to keep up to date with your credentialing and licensing. And that is all like expert knowledge, that you have to keep up to date with. And then policies, hospital policies and school policies too, they are based on evidence-based. So I still think that we are still safe and patients and clients still can trust their providers, that they're giving them rightful information. And if they have any questions or any reservations, I always encourage the patients to write your questions down, come with them. Even if the provider doesn't have the answers right away, they're going to do their research and give you the information right back through email, through text, whichever processes you choose to communicate with your provider, not some random expert on the internet.
Perfect. Yeah. No, I think
Yeah.
that's wonderful. Like everything that you're saying, there's a foundation there
Mhm.
that embraces new technologies and innovations,
Mm,
but you can do it without eliminating your protection of your data. And just the way
mhm,
that you communicated about it, I can tell that you're used to informing your clientele and informing your patients in a way that makes them feel safe and that your education has outfitted you to provide responsible use of artificial intelligence in your healthcare practice. So
mhm.
that's it. Thank you so
Okay.
very, very much. It's very, very interesting. We'll
Thank you.
definitely talk
Yes.
later on when
Yes.
we see each other, picking up
Yes.
our kids and things, but
Right. Yes.
congratulations and
Thank you.
looking forward to talking to you soon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. This is great. Keep doing it. We love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
The Tech Me Out podcast is hosted by 𝐊𝐿𝐬 Stinson, a technologist and attorney with a passion for exploring how technology shapes our lives. Kenda brings a thoughtful, curious, and critical perspective to every episode, helping you understand the impact of tech beyond the screen. For more episodes and insights, visit techmeoutpodcast.substack.com. Thanks for listening and watching. See you next time.